Speaking of family, do you remember your sort of earliest memory of your childhood?
Yeah, pretty normal, I guess. Just growing up, I think northern suburbs. Most of my childhood, my primary school life. Just like a lot of kids, just love footy. Love sports. Sorry, all sorts of sports.
Who did you barrack for in the footy?
Carlton.
Who do you barrack for?
Still barrack for Carlton.
Naturally.
Very passionate about them, even though they haven't been great for many years. But yeah, I guess just pretty normal.
Yeah.
School, sport.
Life. Yeah, because it was interesting, like reading about how when your dad won, and it was sort of you were about 10, and that's when you got into poker.
Yeah,
like
so
that was the moment.
As soon as Dad won, I obviously had no idea what poker was. Dad used to be a semi-professional online as well, when online poker was a big thing.
Ah, okay.
So growing up, Dad would always be on his computer. He had his day job. He'd get back from work, go straight to his office and play 3, 4, 5 hours of poker online.
Jesus.
So I knew he was doing that, but I didn't really know too much about it. Mm-hmm. And then obviously after Vegas happened, then when Dad won, started doing all the traveling and all that sort of stuff, and I was around poker all the time. I started playing and learning poker when I was 11.
Right.
Dad would sort of teach us, give us an idea, teach us the basics, and then we'd play with my friends and whatnot. And then I started playing probably at the age of 12 or 13 online. I'd make fake account details, deposit money, and I'd be playing, these $11 tournaments or these $20 tournaments, like these $100 cash games, and winning money. Like it was.
That's fascinating.
Even at school, sometimes I'd take my laptop to school, log in to PokerStars, and I'd just be playing during school.
Wow. So like that must have been fascinating for you as a kid, because when I think about I was 12 or 13, the first thing I thought about for making money was like, I got to get a job. How am I going to get a job? And it was working at a chemist delivering medicine for old people, basically.
Yeah.
And to have that at that age, knowing that you could potentially just make your own income.
It's pretty crazy.
Yeah, it must have been pretty powerful.
They weren't big numbers. I wouldn't call it an income.
No.
But it was.
But at that age.
Yeah, like I was dealing with like lots of money. It was thousands of dollars I was playing for at some stages.
Really?
It was crazy. I'd like 3 or 4 times. I obviously didn't have a lot of money. Like I was a 12-year-old kid. I'd deposit $10 and run it up to $1,000 online.
Damn.
And just obviously I'm thinking I'm a king. Like how good's this? $10 turned it into $1,000. I'm 13 years old.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
So this is an interesting point, because like that's one of the principles your dad spoke about in the early years about how professional poker players would get the money. They would put it in their accounts, but they wouldn't bank it. They wouldn't hold it there for 6 months or whatever. And that seems to be like a key principle he developed. So I'm curious, at that age, you've got $1,000. I know what I would have gone nuts with that.
Yeah.
What was your like go-to thing to buy?
I couldn't even tell you really. It would a lot of the time it would sit in my poker account, and I'd just keep playing and turning it over. I'd lose some, I'd win some, and then when I take it out, I couldn't even tell you. Maybe go buy a footy, go buy a brand new Sharon or something like that. Yeah, there's not much that I can remember about that sort of stuff.
Did you show your dad?
Dad probably didn't know to what extent I was doing this. He knew that I would play, and sometimes Dad would let me play online on his account.
Really?
So there'd be these tournaments, and this is probably when I was 15, a bit older. So I had experience. Dad knew I sort of knew what I was doing mainly. They'd have these series, these poker tournament series online on PokerStars. They call them WCOOP, like World Series of Poker, basically online. You'd have tournaments that varied from $100 to $1,000 to $5,000 to $10,000. And when Dad was busy and he was contracted to PokerStars, he had to play these tournaments, right?
Right.
So when he was too busy to play, he had dinner on, we had to go somewhere. He goes, Dan, you just take over. And and I just remember this one tournament. It was crazy. I think like would have been thousands of runners, and I was in the top the top 100 or so, and I was just going mental. It was the biggest thing for me. I thought it was just so cool.
God, that must have been fascinating.
Yeah.
Because there is a lot of similarities between, I guess, you and your dad and me and my dad in picking up similar professions.
Yeah.
I'll get into that a bit later, but I just find it interesting because I find that when I do certain things in business, I'm often seeking approval of my dad to sort of prove myself, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. And I guess I was curious as to whether you sort of felt that at a young age because, you know, he's there doing this thing, you're probably looking up to him.
Look, probably not so much having to prove anything. I want to make my dad is like my best mate. We hang out as if we're both the same age and we're like me and my brothers, my dad, we're all just best mates. So not so much having to prove myself. I want to make my dad proud in anything that I do. Because like, not proving but I do look for his approval and his, I see what you're saying. It's sort of the same thing, but with specifically poker.
Yeah.
It's such a hard game. It's so hard to do what my dad's done at his level.
Yeah.
That seeking that approval, you're probably never.
It's useless.
It's just so because it's as a poker player, you understand how hard it is to achieve what my dad has achieved.
Yeah.
It's crazy. It doesn't happen. Like it's so hard. It's so hard for it to happen.
Yeah, the maths on it are ridiculous.
Yeah, the maths on it are ridiculous, right? So it's just it's not so much seeking approval, but to make my dad proud, of course.